just so I don't forget.
Yep.
So did we see that pop up?
Yep, it says recording.
Okay, that's what we like. All right, I've got that it's 5 o'clock. So welcome everybody. I am gonna stop sharing our protocol sheet. If you just got here and didn't get a chance to look at it, basically guys, we really want you to use the chat to ask questions while you're thinking of them, while the presentation's going on, and we may be able to answer them as we go, or we might answer them at the end where we'll have some open time to discuss. So excited to have Megan Martin from Prince William here with us today. She is going to be teaching us about using Wixie across the elementary curriculum to support language acquisition. Love that title. I think this is going to be really deep. I'm Heather Causey. I'm a VSTE representative, and I am from Hanover County. And we also have the amazing Ruthie Dixon with us, and she will be our host, helping monitor the chat and various other and sundries. So, Megan, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me to learn about ways we can use Wixie to support language acquisition in the elementary classroom. My name is Meg Martin, and I am currently an instructional technology coach in Prince William County. Before becoming an ITC, I served as an ESOL teacher. So this evening, I'm really looking forward to sharing ways to foster language growth by differentiating assignments in Wixie. So how can we use Wixie to support language development? Well, first, let's look at what are the language domains we need to consider. So there are 4 language domains, including both receptive language in the areas of reading and listening, as well as productive language in the areas of writing and reading. Wixie is a fabulous tool that allows us to create tasks that students can complete to really show what they know, to demonstrate their knowledge in multiple language domains. So let's explore how we can do that as teachers. Wixie can be used at all levels of language proficiency, from our level 1s all the way up to our level 6s. As we know, our levels 1 and 2s really need some social and academic language with support. By the time we get to a level 3 developing English language learner, they can use some English and some academic language, but again, with support. Really, it's not until we get to reader level 4 expanding that we can get to some technical and academic language without support or with minimal supports. And then our level 5s are really our students where they're using social and academic language, working with grade level material. And finally, our level 6 English language learners are using social and academic language at the highest level and are really testing out of ESOL services. So we are going to explore ways to use Wixie to create differentiated assignments that allow students to demonstrate their academic and social language. So one way to do this is to create the same assignment in multiple formats. We can use Wixie to literally differentiate our assignments. So here you see a little preview of a life cycle of a plant assignment. Our level 1s might just be simply sequencing the pictures. They're looking at the pictures and putting them in the correct chronological order. Level 2s and 3s, we might expect them to label the pictures and maybe even include short phrases. Finally, our level 4 to 6s would be sequencing the pictures as well as providing sentences to describe the pictures. So let's take a look at each of these 3 assignments in detail. First, our level 1, simply sequencing. So in Wixie, this is a simple drag and drop function. So we drag our seed to number 1, we look at our pictures and we say, what could come next? Probably a sprout with roots. Then the sprout grows leaves, and we would continue on. That would be an appropriate level 1 task according to our WIDA standards. Now, taking it up a notch, our level 2 and 3 English language learners, they would not simply sequence the pictures, but they would also add some descriptions, such as seeds, root sprouts, leaves, flowers in a bee that would pollinate, and finally the seeds coming down to the ground again to continue the cycle. Adding more levels of language, now we're moving on to academic language, approaching grade level material with our level 4 to 6 English language learners using, again, that WIDA framework. Now we have some sentences and maybe even some sequencing words, such as first, plant the seed in the dirt, water the seed grows roots and sprouts, and we would continue on. So as you can see, we used a template found in the Wixie template library, the life cycle of a plant, and we simply differentiated it in 3 ways to kind of meet the different language levels of our students. This can give us a lot of insight as to how our students are demonstrating their knowledge. If we wanted, we could even have our students not simply sequence the pictures and maybe label the diagrams and add sentences, but we can also have them record themselves reading their descriptions and sentences back to us. So now we're going to look at the main content areas that we teach at the elementary level and see how can we use Wixie to support these content areas. And these areas, of course, include language arts, math, social studies, and science. So we will start with language arts. So again, starting simple with our template library in Wixie, we've got so many options for everything from graphic organizers to character trading cards. And we can use so many templates to explore word study and vocabulary and give students the opportunity to become published authors and take pride in sharing their research and stories. One way that I really enjoy using Wixie when co-teaching is to take a book and use that interactive read aloud as the basis for students to create their own stories. So in this example, you see the book cover of 10 Black Dots, a pretty common story by Donald Cruz. I read this story along with a first grade teacher. And then we created a template in Wixie where students made their own 10 Black Dot books. Again, based on the simple sentence structure in this book. So here is an example of a project that one student made where they said 1 dot can make an M&M candy. So they used the black dot, they labeled it, and then they drew their own picture of a bag of M&Ms. Anchor books are a great way to get started using Wixie and even just language arts to get kids using that repetitive sentence structure to create their own stories. Graphic organizers. Graphic organizers help organize our thoughts for all students, but particularly with English language learners. They provide that many times needed scaffold for children to show what they understand from a text, whether it be fiction or nonfiction, and then produce a product that demonstrates their learning. So here are 2 examples. A 2nd grade teacher at my school gave this 4-square graphic organizer to her students based on the story Where the Wild Things Are, and she wanted them to simply describe the characters, setting, problem, and solution. So a level 4
Hang on. So I think we're going to do a new share. For some reason, I don't know if it was an internet glitch, not that that would happen in 2020. I'm sorry. Let me try one more time. And hopefully that will solve it. Thank you for letting me know.
Should you look the frosting? What should you do? But now that we are virtual, she had to come up with something different. So she tied it into the seasonal holiday that recently passed, which was Thanksgiving. And students had to argue if chicken, beef, or turkey is better or bad. So this student explains that chicken is better, beef's better, but turkey's bad. So this child clearly does not like turkey. And they explained their thinking. Again, the graphic organizer helped their students create almost a short 3-paragraph argument in persuasive writing. Another thing that I really enjoy about the Wixie template library is the choice boards. These choice boards give you as a teacher a way to kind of get a glimpse of how to give your students voice and choice. And so too, students can look at multiple ways to demonstrate their learning. So again, we can differentiate our assignments and our final product for students by giving them the opportunity to decide, how do I want to show what I know? Do I want to just do what the teacher told me? Or do I want to demonstrate my knowledge for that skill, taking a choice? So in this example, you can see it's about character development. Do I want to do an interview, a trading card, a diary, a riddle, research notes, or a haiku? It could be on characters, it could be on animal research. How could I use this choice board to show what I know? So, taking on that animal research theme, again, I collaborated with both our librarian and grade level teachers. Last year it was first grade. And we created this simple template for our students. And here is my model. And what is in bold was the template, and then students had to complete each page. So the model was on white-tailed deer, which is a common species, of course, we have in Northern Virginia. So students had to put in the all about, fill in the animal. This was all based off of research they conducted in PebbleGo. And so our template follows the headings that you would find in a PebbleGo research article. So all about, then we move on to body. Students were expected to put simple or complex sentences describing the body of that animal and either put in a clip art image or draw a picture of the animal. We moved on to the habitat. They would describe the habitat, again, including a picture. The food. Some interesting facts. This follows the exact layout of the PebbleGo articles. And finally, cite their sources, which in this case was PebbleGo. So let's move on to math. Let's take a look at ways we can use Wixie for students to show what they know in math. We could show multiple ways to solve equations, as you can see here. This is a 4 square that one of our 4th grade teachers created, where children had to show a multiplication problem in 4 different ways. It could be a picture, repeated addition, a number line, or groups. We can also use visuals. So here is something a 1st grade teacher used to explain place value, where students were dragging the 10s, which were red squares, and the 1s, which were blue circles. A 4th grade teacher created this simple template to show factor rainbows, which is a math strategy that we've been using at our school. So how do we show factors of 12? Again, the multiplication facts follow the rainbow. So 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And again, students were able to show their understanding of factors, but in a more visual way. At the kindergarten and 1st grade level in the Wixie template library was this, complete the pattern. So we could look at the shapes like sphere, sphere, cube, cube, cylinder, cylinder, and what would come next. and so on down the line. Triangle, circle, triangle, circle, triangle, circle. What's next? Again, it's a simple drag and drop. So maybe I would choose the pizza for there because I really enjoy pizza once in a while. Again, with the drag and drop, with the first grade teacher, we recently created this template for just a quick check for her students to show their knowledge of time. And when it started off, all of the times are on this side. And again, the students were expected to drag the time to the clock showing the digital time. So they would simply drag it under the clock. And then on the next page, they would type the text in. So like this text, I would double click here and I would write 12, or I would write 4. And this gave us insight into the students' understanding of telling time. Great quick check in the digital portfolio. And then we were able to remediate and extend prior to the test. So let's move on to science. Again, Wixie's template library has so many picture strategies for labeling diagrams and concept sorts and sequencing things like life cycles. So this is just a quick preview with a life cycle of a butterfly, a simple machine concept sort, and then kind of like a label, the diagram of the plant parts and functions. So in this template, we've got life cycle of a frog. We have eggs to a tadpole, and we can just drag and drop our labels like an early tadpole, a late tadpole, a froglet, and an adult. And again, thinking of English language learners, that drag and drop would probably be appropriate for level 1, simply dragging and dropping the pictures in sequence, whereas levels 2s and 3s would label it. And finally, our level 4s and up would be providing a short phrase or sentence like this: a frog lays eggs in the pond. A way to differentiate assignments to meet the needs of all of our English language learners using Wixie. So let's move on to social studies. I really enjoy, again, co-teaching with our librarian at my school because we use the opportunity for students to conduct research both online and using hard copies and explore primary sources. And Wixie has been a great tool for us to use in collaboration with classroom teachers in order for students to, again, show what they know at the appropriate level of language acquisition. So again, thinking of Wixie, we can create timelines. We can make trading cards like this one, which again, in Virginia SOLs for social studies in 2nd grade, we look at Native American tribes. And again, we cycle that again in 4th grade. So we've been using this trading card template. We kind of adapted it to the curriculum for 2nd graders, where they need to describe the tribe, the region, occupation, transportation, the climate, and home for the tribe. So in this case, you can see the first slide is Powhatan. We went on in that same template to include both the Lakota Sioux and the Pueblo. With 4th graders, we've been using actual maps for students to label regions of Virginia. We've looked at having kids create diary entries of certain people in history, like what they might have thought and done, character interviews, looking at biographies, again, labeling maps, creating a newspaper for a specific event. So for economics, again, using that Wixie template library, a level 1 might be simply sorting pictures into 2 categories, goods and services, to meet the economics objective. But perhaps for level 2, we would include in this assignment text boxes. And here, we'd expect our students to actually describe what they see. So maybe they would write something simple like a good is something we make and use. Whereas a service would be perhaps a service is something people do. to serve our community. And then, of course, the next level would be to expand upon that. Maybe you would say a good is something we make and use, like candles, books, and clocks, whereas a service is something people do to serve our community, like a teacher, a plumber, a farmer, a baker, and a construction worker. From the Wixie template library, there is this transportation timeline. Our first grade teachers recently used this to describe things in the past and present. So students had to sequence the pictures in order: the ship, the horse, the car, and the plane. And then they had to explain their thinking. So this was kind of interesting. Whereas most students put the horse first and then the boat, the student said boat. And then they actually decided that the horse should go here because there was a horse-drawn carriage. So it was interesting to see kind of that child's thought process as to why the horse would come after the boat. And then they explained that once cars were invented, people could go faster. This was a level 4 English language learner that was trying to show what they know. And they did a good job kind of trying to express themselves using the pictures provided and some added detail. Fourth grade teachers use this template where students had to use the paint bucket function in Wixie to color in each page of a map of Virginia and then label the region using text boxes. So the student did a perfect job showing the regions from the coastal plain and tidewater all the way over to the Appalachian Plateau in the west. Again, going back to my love for using interactive read alouds to create kind of a simple sentence structure for a book. A third grade teacher and I read the book Me on a Map by Joanne Sweeney to the class. And we created this template based exactly off that book. So Me on a Map. And then each page in the book, students had to complete it based on where they live. So in that book, if you've read it, it's This is me on my street. So then students had to complete the sentence I live on and then put their street and draw a picture accordingly. This is me on my town. We showed children how to use Google Maps to find their actual street on a map and put that picture into Wixie as a JPEG. This is me in my state. Students were able to go into the image library and find a picture of Virginia. This is me in my country. Again, we gave them the map of the United States, glued it to the paint layer, and children were able to use that paint bucket function to color in Virginia. This is me on my continent. Same idea. We use the paint layer function, and then children use the paint bucket function to color in the United States. And then in the template library, we found this continent and ocean drag and drop. And in the template, all of the labels were to the side, and then students had to actually drag them where they would go. And so again, this gave us some insight as to how students were doing, and again, showing us what they know. So we really like these templates in the Wixie library because you can add them into your own template or adapt them accordingly and differentiate them to meet the needs of your students. Finally, this is me on my planet. Students had to find a picture of Earth. And that brings me kind of towards the end, where I would just really encourage everyone to explore that template library and then think about where you are in your curriculum and how could you take a template and scaffold it to meet the varying language levels of your students. So of course you have this vast template library in Wixie. You might even have one for your county and school. So you would simply go in, search for templates by subject, customize those templates. I typically like to customize them in 3 ways. Assign them to a class, add directions in written and hopefully a read aloud form with a microphone, or even if you're at a school like mine with deaf and hard of hearing students, you could even include a video on the first slide where you're using sign language or cued speech, again, to explain those directions as like a read aloud. And finally, share with colleagues. You can put that template into your county or your school's library. And last but not least, some final resources I'd like to leave with you is when you're on the Wixie website, they have curriculum guides. There's even one specifically aligned to Virginia Standards of Learning, which is amazing. I also recommend this guide, Building English Language Skills with Technology. Again, this guide shows you how to use Wixie to kind of tap into various English language levels and domains. If you're on YouTube, follow Scott Loomis. He's got numerous videos. I gave a little screenshot here that explains step-by-step how to create templates, use them in different subject areas. Amazing. And then when you're on the Wixie website itself, be sure to sign up for the Wixie tips, and you'll get regular kind of emails that give you some kind of new templates that are available and ways to use Wixie to support your curriculum. So thank you again for joining me this evening, and I look forward to any questions that you may have.
All right, so does anyone have any questions?
Guys, go ahead and just type them in chat. We have about 4 minutes where we can pick Meg's brain. Yeah, Scott's the best. He's the real deal.
Yeah, so Wixie works well on iPads with the app downloaded. Ironically, we found with Kindle Fire 7s, Wixie doesn't always work well in the app. It sometimes works better in the internet browser. Whereas in Kindle 8s, it works in either. Prince William County uses like a Clever login, so I don't know if maybe that's part of our challenge. And then Wixie's in my county has not been integrated into Canvas. I don't know if there's an LTI for Wixie or not, but you can, give directions to a Wixie assignment in Canvas, which is what we do, and then students know to go into their Wixie account and complete it.
So guys, if you have questions, please type them in. I'm sorry, it's not integrated to Schoology.
I'm not familiar with Schoology. I haven't used it, so I'm not sure, but if anyone else is familiar with Schoology and wants to answer that question, feel free.
So I'm a Schoology admin, but we don't have Wixie, so I don't know. But if you are, please reach out to your district Schoology admin to check. Meg, did you see the question about, hold on, does it create a copy for all students?
So when you have a template in Wixie, you would need to assign it to students. So either like all the students in your class as a classroom teacher, or if you're Wixie admin, you could assign it to like a whole grade level. And then as soon as they work on it, because it saves in real time, it literally is a digital portfolio, kind of like Seesaw or something else, where you can constantly go back to the teacher and see where students are in terms of their work.
All right, guys, well, we have 1 more minute. I did put the link for Discord. VSTE is using that to help us all continue the conversations. So if you want to, and you want to meet up in there and talk more questions about Wixie, you're welcome to do that. I put the link in the chat a couple comments ago.
Thanks.
All right, so sorry. Meg, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've got. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to go ahead and close this out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a
See
good
you
evening.
tomorrow.
Bye.
And bye. Stop recording.